Welcome to Life Sketches, a podcast with the Chico, California Steak. I'm Melanie McLaughlin, and today we are with Tamba, Sellu. Thank you for coming to visit with us today. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start just right off by talking about your clothing because it's unique, right? I've never seen a shirt like this before. Will you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, so this is it's an African fabric. It's something we wear like to formal occasion, and you can wear it just by itself, or you can wear a shirt underneath it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a formal dress in Africa.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so it's a heavier cloth.
Yeah, it's heavier.
Yeah.
It's heavier, and there's embroidery and pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many of those do you have?
Oh, I have a lot.
Okay.
I have quite a lot of them.
Do you wear them often?
Well, not so often. Like I mostly wear them occasionally, because there was a point when I came to the state, I have more of this African clothing than I have Western clothing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have a lot of Western clothing too, but I have more of African clothing than Western clothing. And my mom used to sell them in the Bay Area.
Did she make them?
No, she makes some of them, but most of them she'll buy.
Imported.
And yes, she'll get them from different vendors.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about your family and where you grew up.
Well, as you may aware, I'm from Sierra Leone, West Africa, and I am one of 3 sons, and we have an older sister. I was the second to last. I was the third. No. I have my older sister, my older brother, and myself. Yeah, and then my younger brother.
Okay.
And then my older sister was born in the United States. But my older brother was born in Sierra Leone, and myself, I was born in Sierra Leone, and my younger brother was born in Sierra Leone as well.
Okay, so 4 kids in your family.
4 kids, yes.
And tell us a little bit about your parents.
Yeah, so my parents came to the United States in the early 60s. They came here for school. And so when my dad got his first master's, they moved to Africa. I was an accountant. They lived in San Francisco. That's where they used to live, and then they went to Africa, and then they worked in Sierra Leone. My dad was an accountant, so he was the financial controller for the University of Sierra Leone, and so that's where we were born and raised.
And then somehow you ended up back here. So tell us a little bit about that story.
Yes. So, well, the one interesting thing, when somebody from like a third world country like Sierra Leone move to the United States and go to school here and also end up working here, their culture change. They are very different from what they really were when they came from Africa, for example. So when my dad went back, he had a lot of problem to fit in again because the American culture influenced everything he did. So like simple things like on a Friday, for example, when you get off work, people are expecting to, like if you're the boss in the department, your subordinates will expect that on a Friday, you should take an envelope, put some money in them, give it to them, say, okay, go have dinner with your family, take your family for lunch or something. But so my dad was like, oh no, I can't do that. I make a little bit more than you because I am your boss, but my money, I have to make my choice to give it to somebody. I'm not going to feel pressured to give it to somebody. So some of those things are like very different. It's normal in Africa to do stuff like that, but here in America, once you get the American culture and you don't want to give somebody something that you don't want to give them. You give them what you want to give them, not because of, you feel like pressure that you should give it to them.
Right. So he wanted to come back.
So
he was more comfortable in the culture
exactly.
here.
So he had a lot of. It was they said they always refer to my dad as an American, even though he's from Africa. I was born and raised in Africa. They always refer to him as an American because his culture have changed. Mm-hmm. It doesn't act like somebody from Africa, from Sierra Leone. So at a point, he decided to move back to the States because he was very comfortable, because people can understand him better. So he came back to the States in 84. By then, we stayed back in Africa. So 4 years later, he got sick. They had to do a bypass surgery. So because we were planning to come together, we were working on passports and other things before he got sick. And so my mom had to come to the States in '89, leaving us behind to stay with her grandparents. And so my grandma had so much influence in my life, and my grandpa as well. So they were like, I call them Mama and Papa.
So you essentially grew up without your dad for a number of years, and then
Absolutely.
without your mom for a few years.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So my dad, I think I probably brought a picture. I will probably show you later that we took when he was coming back to the States in '84. I think that's the last picture we have together in the same room.
Wow.
I mean, when I came to the States, I had to go see his graveside.
Okay.
In San Francisco, in Coleman, in San Francisco, just south end of San Francisco.
So how did you stay close with your father when he was living on a different?
Well, it was interesting because we didn't have a telephone. So we write letters. And then my dad used to record on audio tapes. So he record his voice on an audio tape. And when somebody is traveling to Africa, and then, we record this tape for several days. And then so send this tape, and then we'll listen to this tape, and it will tell us like whatever I want to tell us, like stories, or because we didn't have a phone. And another way also, if you want to reach us really quickly, one way he used to contact us was by telegram. So telegram, it would go to a center and send like typed messages of maybe like a paragraph, and then they charge them per word, and then they send that over to Sierra Leone, and then a mailman will take it this very day and go deliver it to you, because we didn't have internet or other things like telephone.
Mm-hmm. And do you have some of those letters or telegrams today?
I do. I absolutely do. So when my mom moved into a retirement facility, into an assisted living facility, so we were cleaning that place. So I found all those letters. So I even found letters that I was writing to my dad when I was 9 years old, when he left. And up to when I was in secondary school, all the letters I wrote to him, he kept every single one of them. So when I was going through those documents and I saw all those letters, I remember exactly where I was standing when I wrote those letters. I remember exactly how I was feeling. You just have this dream in your mind, where your daddy is at and what he's doing. And then you write in his letters. And so I was happy that they saved all those letters and I still have them.
Yeah, that would be a treasure to have those exchanges.
Yes.
So you spent a number of years being raised by, it's your maternal grandmother?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, my maternal grandmother.
Okay.
Yeah,
Will you tell us a little bit about her and the influence she had on you?
Yeah, so my grandma never went to school. So she hailed from a ruling family where they were chiefs, they were kings. They call them chiefs, actually. And so because she was a woman, so she didn't go to school. But all the brothers were sent to school. In fact, like one of our younger brother was one of very successful medical doctor and a politician as well. So, but the girls, they didn't let the girls go to school at all. They only let the boys went to school. Well, my grandma, even though she didn't go to school, she was able to support my mom when she came to the United States. When my mom was in the United States, my grandma will send money to my mom here in the United States, because by that time, the Sierra Leone currency was higher than the dollars, the US dollars. So like one of Sierra Leone currency will be 90 cents. 90 cents of Sierra Leone currency will be $1 US. So they can send money to my mom when she was in the United States during that time.
Mm-hmm. And did you ever talk to your grandmother about her not being able to go to school? Did she miss the opportunity to go to school?
Well, she didn't. She didn't mention anything like negative, because she's very positive. My grandma was so positive, and I admire her so much. She was very loving. She's always helping people. she didn't complain about it. She just made the best of it. Even though she didn't, like, she cannot read the Bible, she married a husband who can read. So my grandfather read the Bible every single day to my grandma. And so she knows a lot about the Bible. And she was just a kind person. She will cook every day. The largest dish in the home doesn't belong to anybody in the house. It's for strangers. Because in Africa, it's okay for somebody to come, just walk through your door that you're not expecting unannounced, and you're supposed to welcome and entertain that person. So, and the process of cooking in Africa takes hours because everything they cook is from scratch. Even the peanut butter, it's a process to get it to, like, now we just have peanut butter we just get from a can, from a container, we just use it right away. No, they have to, like, get the peanut, they got to roast it in the pot, they got to peel the skin off, they got to pound it, they got to roll it out to make it to a paste before. So it's a long process. So you don't want to do that when somebody is visiting with you. So when they cook, the largest dish belongs to nobody but a stranger. So when somebody just walk by, you have food to treat them. And every day I always pray that nobody comes. So I can have a lot of food in the morning.
So whatever wasn't served the night before is given to you the next day.
Absolutely. In the morning. And that's the cold cuts. We call it cold rice because it's left over. So we call it cold rice. And I was not really happy that my grandma will be doing all of that for people. And so when my friends will be playing soccer in the streets and I don't have the time to play soccer in the streets, I will get upset because I'm home, maybe washing dishes or taking food to, because when my grandma cook, she distributes food to all the neighbors. It's not like once a week, no, every single day she does that. And she was very consistent. And if somebody's sick from the church, she will cook for that person every single day. And who has to take it? It's going to be me. And I have to go collect the dirty dishes, bring them home, and wash them by hand every single day. To a point I break up and I said, Grandma, you know what? I don't know why you're doing this. I said, my friends are playing out and I don't have time to play. And I don't think we should do this anymore. And she talked to me and said, he said, sit down. He said, sit down here. So I sat down on the step and she said to me, I'm not doing this for me. These people I'm giving this food to, they can't give it to me. He said, by the time you grow older, I'll be dead and gone. He said, but all this I'm doing is for you. He said, anytime in your life you find yourself in a different place and somebody call you and ask you to join them for dinner, think of this moment. And, when I'm saying this right now, I'm feeling chill because at that time, all I felt was I was not able to go play with my friends. I didn't realize that my grandma was doing these things and teaching me that I should learn to be helping people all the time. So that's something I learned from her, how much, you get so much satisfaction in helping people than doing things for yourself.
Mm-hmm. You said that your grandfather read the Bible to her every day.
Yes.
And that she helped people at church. What church was she associated with?
My grandma and my grandpa, they were Catholic. So they put me in a Catholic primary school. They put me in a Catholic secondary school. And then, so we go to church every single day. The only day we didn't go to church was Saturday. And she was so strict with Sabbath day that we don't even cook on Sunday. We cook on Saturday for Sunday. And I think I probably brought up some pictures that I will show you later, how we cook. We cook with firewood. And so it's a long process. It's not like you cooking on a stove. You can be doing something else and just let it, whatever you cook, it's firewood. You're going to constantly be pushing those wood to get what you want to cook. And it's just a whole lot it takes so much time to cook in Africa. So much time.
Did you learn to cook with her?
Absolutely. Cooking in Africa is more of a survival skills. It's not more of a matter of choice because we don't have too many processed foods. So most of the things you eat, you have to cook from scratch. So naturally, people learn to cook really quick because you don't have much option. And if you want to eat, you have to cook. You have to learn to cook something.
So you're describing living with your grandmother and helping her by taking dishes around to people. And this whole time, your parents are in the United States.
Yes.
And so is your older brother and sister?
No. So my older sister was. My older sister, because when my parents went first to Africa in the early 70s, they took my older sister. But she was not comfortable with the food. She didn't like the food or anything. So we had a neighbor who in San Francisco, my parents had a neighbor in San Francisco who they were very close to. So she went to go pick up my sister so my sister can come stay with her in San Francisco. So my dad said, no, you can't, I don't want you to go. So the woman, her name is Mildred Jackson, she's dead now. And so she went again the second time. And so finally my dad said, okay, well, I'll let you go take my daughter to go stay with you in San Francisco. So my sister was staying in San Francisco, but my brothers and myself were back in Sierra Leone.
And then how did you yourself come over to the United States?
So my parents filed paperwork for us. So in fact, the first time they filed our paperwork, they lost it in the State Department. So it took some time. When my mom started the process all over again in '89 when she came back to the States, we were not able to come to the United States in 2004.
That is a long process.
Yes,
Yeah.
It took a long time to a point where we almost gave up in the process of coming to the United States. So, but it eventually worked out.
So you came in 2004.
2004.
How old were you then?
I was in my late 20s when I came to the United States.
And you had already studied in college in Africa.
So I studied tourism. So I studied tourism in Sierra Leone, but it was an associate degree. This was a level of an associate degree because we didn't have a bachelor's program for tourism. In fact, most countries in Africa don't have a bachelor's program for tourism. So, in fact, that's how I get to know about BYU because after I graduated from the hotel and tourism school in Sierra Leone, and I was looking for a university where I can go do a bachelor's degree in tourism. So luckily I got a job with the tourist board, the National Tourist Board of Sierra Leone, and I was the marketing and public relations officer at the National Tourist Board of Sierra Leone. So I was looking for different colleges where I can go do a bachelor's degree in tourism. And I applied, and I used to love to write. That was my hobby. I love to write, like I had pen pals. So I love writing. It's just my thing I like to do. So I write to different colleges across the world. And by that time, there was a college in South Africa, there was one in Kenya, and there was one in Tunisia that actually offered a bachelor's degree in tourism. Ghana, they only have a higher national diploma, which is not up to a bachelor's. And so I wrote to colleges in England and the United States. And one of them that responded was BYU. And they gave me a scholarship package to do a full bachelor's degree in tourism. So that was interesting because when I filled out the form, there was a spot in the back for an endorsement from a bishop. And so I have no idea about the church. I don't even know anything about the church. So I keep asking people, and somebody said, I know somebody who's associated with the church who will help you. So went to the person who was a parliamentarian, but when we got to him, by then he had been released from his calling. So he referred me to the person who was acting, and the person who was acting at that time knew me. We have the same name, the same first name. His name is Tamba. So I went to see him. He was the protocol officer in the Foreign Office in Sierra Leone. So I went to him and I showed him, I said, I'm looking for a bishop to do an endorsement for me. And he said, I can do it for you, but I will refer you to the bishop so you can meet the bishop. He said, but before I send you to the bishop, let me tell you about the church a little bit. So he opened his drawer, he got the Book of Mormon. He said, have you ever heard about the Book of Mormon before? And I said, what is that? He said, okay. So this is another testament of Jesus Christ. So he told me about the Book of Mormon, and he told me a little bit about BYU. He says it's a very good university, but there are some standards in that university, how you dress and code of conduct. And so I'm like, well, this is going to sound more like a seminary to me than just a college. So when I went home, I did not move forward with my scholarship program because I was nervous that, okay, they might just not let anything go forward because this is going to be more religious than I thought. It's just a regular college. So I went home and I put everything back, and I start talking to friends, people that I know. And I said, I have this scholarship package here because BYU promised to buy books for me, pay my tuition, give me round trip tickets to the United States, and then even lodging. And so somebody said, who does that? Nobody does that. That's impossible. In America, nobody's going to do that for you in America. Do all of those for you? No. Maybe they'll pay tuition for you and so maybe help you with some books. But all of that, no, they're not going to do all of that for you. So I was a little skeptical, so I did not pursue that. And then years later, when I moved with my job, I used to go to England. So my friend was a diplomat, so I stayed at his home in England, in London, so I don't have to pay for hotels. So one day the missionaries went there, and they were teaching my friend's wife about the church, and I had no idea. So they invited me to join them the next meeting. They gave me my first Book of Mormon, and that's when I started reading it, and I just took the rest and I put it in my suitcase. I said, no, I think I'm on vacation right now. I don't want to be doing any other thing. And after I came back to Sierra Leone, I didn't even think much about it at all until I moved to the States. And then the rest now is history.
And once you moved to the States, tell us about there were a couple of people where you lived that ended up being members of the church also,
Yes.
right?
Yes. So where I was living in Davis, because when I came, my mom was living in San Francisco, but I didn't like San Francisco as much. It was just too busy for me. Coming from Sierra Leone, I want to be in a small town and, where it's not too things don't move too fast like it moves in San Francisco. So I talked to my brother who was doing his master's in Davis. So we stayed with my brother in Davis. So while I was staying in Davis, I was there I was with my brother for 6 months, and I moved to my own place. So when I moved there, the unit I was staying at has the apartment, they have like multiple buildings with 3 units on each building. So one of the units, I was the first person to move in. So somebody came in who was a member. So not too long, another person came in who was a member, but do not even know the other person. I have to introduce them. But prior to that, somebody in the complex the parents have been inviting me to go to church with them. And I keep telling them that, oh, don't worry, maybe next time, maybe next week or something. And interestingly, I never went to church with them. And not until when the neighbors came and they invited me, the other neighbor came. So the building had 3 units. I was the only person in the building that was not a member. Yes. So the missionaries came, and then I learned about the church. And when I was about to be baptized, my neighbor said, oh, wait, don't let the missionaries rush you into getting baptized right now. I said, no. I said, you have no idea. I said, this process has been going on for 10 years. It's been 10 years since this process has been going on. Since the first time I know about the church to now, it has taken 3 different continents. So I think I'm ready. Because during that time, I will read about the church. I will try to read something about the church and try to learn something about the church. But I was just like, okay. But the thing that touched me most, because my dad was not religious. My mom was. So one thing that stood out most to me was the fact that my dad, who was not religious, who didn't go to church, there's an opportunity for him to be united with me in eternity. That just means so much to me. it meant the world to me that I'll be able to be with my dad, and my dad will have the opportunity to accept the Lord as his personal savior. That just stood out to me. And so I got baptized, and I moved to Chico for school, and now I'm here with my family.
So you ended up at Chico for your bachelor's
My
degree.
bachelor's. Yeah, so when I came back to the States, I started school all over again. So I went to community college because most of my classes didn't count. I went to community college and I did a business administration first at Woodland Community College. And then I transferred to Chico State and I did my bachelor's. And then so when I finished my bachelor's, I went straight into a master's program. And then I finished my master's program. And so before I started writing my thesis, I got a job with Marriott. And so I had to move to Monterey. So, and then I met my wife. And then we got married. And then we have a daughter, a beautiful daughter. And Chico is home.
Chico is home. How did you meet your wife?
So my wife, I like dancing. So my wife liked dancing too. She danced, like when she was in school, she danced throughout school. And we both like ballroom dancing, So that's how we met. And she was living in Magalia and I was living in Chico. So when I got the job and I moved to Monterey, that's the time we started like talking more often. But she was not a member of the church. So that was my skepticism initially when she was not a member. I was worried. I said, okay, if you marry somebody who's not a member, it's going to be a big chain of work to do. So she makes me a better person. And so I was happy to be sealed to her. And she's a wonderful person. And she just makes me a better person. And I'm so proud of her every day.
How old is your daughter now?
She's 7. She's 7 years, and she brings me so much joy. Every day, just looking at her eyes and the activities she gets me into, every single day, just warms my heart. And my mom is suffering from dementia right now, and each time I take my daughter to see her in Sacramento, she just light up. She'll light up whenever she sees my daughter. She just light up because in my family we don't have too many kids. Like my older sister who passed away now has a daughter who is 27, and besides that, I'm the only person with a child. So she gets all the love that she deserves.
Mm-hmm. Does she like to dance?
Yes, she does. She's in ballet.
Oh,
good. Yes, she likes to dance because like my wife and I, sometimes we'll be doing something and then the music just go off and she just draw my hand and we start dancing. Mm-hmm. And so my daughter just jumping, dancing. So we just love dancing, even if it's not an occasion.
I want to back up a little bit and ask you about moving to the United States. Was there anything that surprised you about the culture here versus the culture in Africa?
There are so many differences, extreme differences. But because before I came to the States, I was pretty much prepared. So I had to do because I was coming to be here permanently. So I had to do some training in the U.S. Embassy. So one of the training they did was they teach you about American culture, what you should expect. But prior to that, because my parents used to live in the United States, so when I was back when we were back in Sierra Leone, most of the things we have in our home were American products. General Electric, pretty much. Most of the products we have in the house is American things. So I was pretty much familiar with a lot of American culture. So my mom's younger sister have been here since the 70s. My mom's youngest brother has been here since the 70s. So, and I was with the grandparents. So constantly letters and pictures and things. So I have a lot of ideas about how the United States look. And I think I used to know more about the United States when I was in Africa than I do know when I'm here. Because I used to follow so many things that go on in the country, maybe because I was much younger. I used to follow up a lot of things. So there was some shock in certain behavior. Like, for example, if I'm riding the bus, and or not even the bus, if I go to any place, then a lady is standing, then I'm sitting down. My culture, I'm supposed to get up. And so in the bus, when I do that for people, some people say, why are you going to get up for that person? Do you know it? You know that person? No, I don't know the person, but it is my culture. And if my grandma hear that I'm sitting on a chair and the lady is standing up, oh, she'll be so upset with me. So there are certain things like a lot of different culture. Like when I cook, when I when I was staying in Davis, my brother, when I cook dinner one day for my brother's friend, they came over. And so I cooked this food and I put it in a big dish. And I put spoons all over the dish so we all can eat from the same dish. And so my brother's friend was surprised, said, "What are you? I don't eat with people in the same dish. Only my girlfriend will eat with me in the same dish. Everybody should eat in their own dish. We should not be using this spoon in the same dish to eat." So I was kind of shocked with that because in Africa it's common, it's normal. So if somebody invites you to eat, first of all, you go to visit somebody, the first thing they give you is food. It doesn't matter how poor the person is. They may be raising a chicken that they don't even eat themselves. But when they see you, because you're a stranger, they want to cook that chicken for you. And when they cook that for you and you're going to say, no, I don't want to eat, I don't want to take from you. Even if you're full, you just need to take a spoon of that. And the person will believe that, okay, you've appreciated their gesture and they feel very comfortable with you. But if you refuse to eat their food, then they think like, oh, this person is very different from me and this person letting me know that. So there are some things that's culture differences. Like looking people in their eyes directly. It took me a while to start to learn to do that. My culture, when you look somebody in the eyes for a long time, it's like a challenge.
Oh,
so
defiant.
You have to put your head down. Like when my grandparents were talking to me throughout my life, when they talked to me, I just put my head down and I listen. And I put my hands behind my back until they finish talking. And then they're gonna need me to respond, and they will ask me to respond. I should not respond back when I'm not asked to respond. So all of those are different cultures. So there were some shocking things that I got. And also because I used to go to England, I was exposed to some Western culture there as well. So I was kind of like prep, when I moved to the States. So I didn't get too much culture shock when I came to the States. And I was anticipating. And also the training in the embassy, all that helps. Like another thing they told me not to do, because that's something we do in Africa. If you're driving a car, and then you see somebody you know by the street, you can wave them, but don't stop on the road for them and open the door for them to come in. Because they might think you're trying to kidnap them. You say you don't do that at all. I know in your culture, if somebody is driving by you, walking on the road, and they don't stop to give you a ride, you'll be so upset and you don't want to talk to them for the rest of your life. And so you can't do that here. So these are some of the cultural things that they like tell us about. You just can't do that.
Some really different practices. Yeah. Have you taken your wife and daughter back to Africa?
Yes, I have. A couple years ago, it was actually in November, we went just before Thanksgiving. So we went to Sierra Leone, and they love it because the beaches were beautiful. And so every day they want to be on the beach because we are by the Atlantic Ocean. So they just love it, and they love the people. And my wife was so amazed so I took them up country to where my dad used to work, because we have a home there also. So we went up there, it was very quiet and calm. And so the green land and the quietness, the birds talking. And so she came out and she said, I really like it out here. I think if we come here, I would love to stay up country more, because if you live in the city, there's so much honking. I mean, honking is like a habit. They honk, there's so much noise, loud, and it's so crowded, it's compact. Yeah, I mean, it's crowded than what it used to be before. Because after the Civil War, a lot of people moved to the capital city because everything is centralized. That's one of the problems. Everything is centralized in the capital city. So if you want anything, you have to go to the capital city to have. You want to get a driver's license, you have to go to the capital city. So because of those reasons, these people who live in the suburbs, anything they want to come, they have to come to the capital city. So after the Civil War, a lot of people decided to migrate to the capital city because they say, oh, they actually have roads here that are not dusty.
Can you tell us briefly about your thesis that you did for your master's program?
Yes, so what I did for my master's thesis is I studied the level of cultural awareness about people of African descent in the United States, and their intention to participate in what we call root tourism. So I break the black people into two components: those who were born in the United States and those who migrated to the United States. And I try to check their level of cultural awareness and if they would like to participate in what we call root tourism, to know where their ancestors came from and to go to those places to go visit. And so doing that study enlightened me a lot, because I had to go to different places, I had to go to different states and collecting data and to see how much some people know about their culture and some don't know at all. And some don't even want to be associated with it, because whenever they look at their culture, they just look their culture with memories of pain. So there's that kind of trauma. And the people who are mostly excited about it, mostly, are those who migrated to the United States, because they have that connection, they have that link directly to Africa. So like those who don't actually know directly where they came from, they have that issue. But like the Gula Geechee people, they call them Gula Ogeechee. They are within South Carolina and Georgia area. They most of the slaves that were brought to the United States went straight to South Carolina and Georgia. And because of their high knowledge in rice plantation in Africa, so they pay high prices for them when they came to Georgia.